today we saw that the House passed a $27.7 billion budget. Approximately $9.3 billion of that was general revenue. We continue to deal with our budget one crisis at a time, and unfortunately this year we balanced the budget on the backs of our seniors, our disabled, and our students. So with that, I think one of the other things we saw is that it was a bad idea when Nixon suggested we do it, and it's an absolute bad idea today that we pass a budget that relies on other legislation to pass. As we know, we don't know what the Senate's going to do just yet with the HCB 3, as well as we have a MORX bill out there that we need to pass to actually really get the budget where we wanted it to go. So we will see what happens with those. As far as some of the good, the bad, and the ugly of the budget, we have what we call kind of a phantom fully funding of the formula, which the positive side to that is it will allow us to fund early childhood education. However, we have several bills going through right now that seek to delay that. So while we thought we might be including early childhood education, it actually may be delayed another 5 years. So that is unfortunate. We saw across the board cuts, 6.5% to higher ed, which unfortunately is going to have a great impact on our students. We don't know exactly how much of an effect that's going to have, but I can't imagine that the universities are going to be able to absorb all those costs without ultimately putting that back on the students. Unfortunately, over the last week, we have seen a ton of rain, and unfortunately in our budget, there is nothing to fund our roads and bridges. And obviously, after the water subside, there's going to be substantial damage, and there's nothing in the budget that's going to be there to do those repairs. So I'm very much concerned about that as well. In addition to that, we're still talking about the legal expense fund bill. It has moved out of the House. We've also attached it as amendments to several other bills, and as I mentioned on the floor today, we'll be asking those other departments not under the Attorney General's office to voluntarily provide those same reports so that we can get that information, assuming that we may not have enough time to get those bills completed. I think some of the things we were glad about was the additional funding for Lincoln University and the land grant. We are still about $4 million or so short, so I hope that's something that we can continue to work on. I was a little sad that we did not give Harris Stowe the full $1 million for their graduate school program, but we were able to save $250,000 of that. And the other thing, and then I'll let Representative Butler kind of talk, or I'll let you all ask questions, is the additional $1.5 million that we added for voter ID. I think that's important to assure we know that voter ID is now the law of the land, and to make sure that there is adequate funding in there so that we can provide those IDs and make sure that we are not disenfranchising people. So with that, I think I will take questions.
What did you and your caucus think about the language concerning DWI checkpoints?
I think, as I think the budget chair pointed out, it doesn't necessarily prevent them, but I would have rather have seen that language taken out. I think we need to give as many options as possible when we start talking about how do we keep our roads safe, and to basically ban using the state funding for that, I think probably was not necessarily a good idea.
With regards to the in-home and nursing care, you're seeing cuts to services, not as much as what the governor initially recommended. What do you think the consequences of that will be, and what's your opinion on the final numbers?
Yeah, I'm going to let Representative Butler answer that one.
Well, we're worried that seniors are going to lose services, and as of right now in our budget, they will. We have given alternatives of how senior services can be fully funded. Those alternatives have not been taken up in the budget, have failed in some cases when we've actually voted on them. But most importantly, when it comes to seniors and in-home care, we've taken funds from those same seniors that sometimes get in-home care with that tax credit and tried to turn around and give it to them and other seniors with House Committee Bill 3. It's totally irresponsible for us to not only make a bill called that creates a Senior Services Protection Fund by taking money from seniors, as well as creating a bill that needs to be passed in order for those seniors to get those types of services.
Anything else?
What would you like to see come out of this last week?
Real ID. We're still waiting. I think that's probably the top priority of our constituents. If you go out and ask, that's the one thing they want, and we've seen no movement from the Senate side, and no indication that it's actually going to move. And the Senate's unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen next week.
What's been your take on kind of the drama that surrounded the Senate the last couple of weeks? I mean, does it kind of prove that the upper chamber isn't as upper as some people think they are?
It's just unfortunate. All of us were sent here to do a job, and that's not happening. And this infighting is ridiculous. It's like playground stuff, and we need to get our act together.